Excuse me? Did you just ask what was BGK Network for? I'm glad that you asked. Let me get the number up because I know you're going to call. So, BGK was founded by Michael. What happened to the number? The number's at the top of the screen now. But anyway, get the number. As I was saying, BGK Network was founded by... It's at the bottom of the screen. Really? Really? Okay. I'm sorry for calling you Michael. Apostle, just put me back where I can talk. Just put me back, please. Wow, some people are so sensitive, right? But seriously, what you just saw was a sample of what Apostle Michael Dulaney and Evangelist Tiffany can do through virtual ministry with BGK Network. They founded BGK to help people like you and myself to put the gospel out around the world. It's a great opportunity. I do encourage you to call the number. It's more affordable than you think. Give them a call. I did.
Three, two, one.
Here we go!
Well, hello. Welcome to Table Conversations with Dr. Sonia. I am always happy that you come into our studios every week. We don't take your presence and your listening for granted, and we thank you for coming in. Listen, I always like to begin with housekeeping, so I just want you to connect with BGK Network. So we're in a very tough season. We're just coming out of post-COVID, and this is the time and this is the season for you to come and begin to up-level your ministry. And whether you have a marketplace ministry, whether you have a women's ministry, whether you have a church ministry, you're looking to get more visibility and to get more eyes on your ministry, this is the time and this is the season. Listen, connect with our partners at BGK Network. It's right on the screen, but let me give it to you. www.bgk.org. You know what? I did it years ago, and I have no regrets. The visibility, what we do here, the partnership, and the collaboration is so awesome. So I'm not sure where you are, but I do know and believe that there are several people out there that's listening that know it's your time. So connect with us. And to connect with me, you could just always go to my website at www.drsonia.com, or you can email me at admin@drsonia.com. And so last week I began to talk about fear, because fear is something that has taken me so long to get out of. And no matter what we look at, fear always grips us in some way. Last week we talked about that there's good fear and there's not so good fear. We talked about that God has not given us the spirit of fear, but we also talked about the old cliche that false evidence of fear is real. And I wanted to refresh you and let you know that fear is real. Fear is real. And that we have to learn how to deal with fear. Last week I gave you 3 key points on how to deal with fear. I talked about how I was bullied. I talked about my disabilities and everything that faced me. And one of the steps that I did tell you is that you have to learn to rewrite it, to redirect it, and refocus it. And so if you didn't see last week, one of the things about fear and dismantling fear, which is what we're talking about, is learning to rewrite it, to refocus it, and to redirect it. Because all fear is not bad. But fear will keep us from opportunities because we remain in fear. In our visions, our goals, and our aspirations, because of fear, we do not move forward on. And so I want you to learn to dismantle fear by learning to refocus it, learning to rewrite it, and learning to redirect it. And so, what today I want to talk about is that to determine why fear is, or what are the possibilities, or what are the lessons in fear. Because, as I said earlier, all fear is not bad. But what I've learned is to really home in on the lessons about fear. I also talked last week is that you've got to learn to talk it out. You've got to learn to renegotiate it. You got to get with someone that will help you through it. So when you learn to talk it out, you learn, you determine why fear is set in, why you haven't moved and acted upon those dreams and those visions, why you have not moved and began to write that book, why you have not began to collaborate with individuals that will help move your vision forward. And so you have to look at fear and determine why fear is, and what are the possibilities, or what are the lessons learned. Because every fearful moment we can find a lesson that we can learn in it. We come out of it with a lesson. When you rewrite fear, you talk yourself off of the ledge. Many times I have learned to refocus, rewrite it, and redirect it, and talk myself off of the ledge. And know what authority you have over fear. This is a key. Know what authority you have over fear and begin to take the necessary steps to walk in that authority. Now we'll go biblical with you. God says that He has not given us the spirit of fear, but of sound mind. He has given you enough that you have sound mind to understand that you can take authority over fear. Let me write that. He has given us authority over fear. But we just have to learn to take the necessary steps and begin to exercise that authority. We can destruct your fear, unravel your fear, decode it, and learn to interpret it so that you are able to dismantle the fear once and for all. I talked a lot about my childhood, and it was not that I did not have good parents, because I did. I had wonderful parents who taught me the art of entrepreneurship, who taught me the art of ownership, who taught me how to own my success, who taught me that in spite of drama, in spite of disappointments, in spite of things happening, that you can get through this. But what I had to learn as an adult is how to dismantle it. Because no matter what our parents teach us, there's some fears we take into our own adulthood. And so we have to learn how to turn our fear into power. And that's what I've been doing throughout my lifetime. I've been learning how to turn my fear into power. Let me tell you a joke. I would love to come on, and I've always have a guest. But as I shared with my producer, I wanted to do a little bit more solos because I had something to say. But I said I don't like to do solos because maybe people will not listen because it's a solo. I had to break that barrier. I had to take power over that fear. And we all have some type of fear that we have to take power over. All fear, I said, is not bad. Recognize that fear can work to our advantage. Recognize that fear can and has, for me, in many cases, worked to our advantage. And so when we look at fear, I always will tell people fear is not there's bad fear and there's good fear. Last week I shared with you the example of something that even before I came on to my broadcast today, for my live broadcast, that I got some disappointing news. For a while I sat there almost allowing fear to make me believe that we had tremendously did something wrong. But I had to get up and rechannel, refocus, and redetermine that fear. And then I had to begin to say, how do we renegotiate this? And begin to take some action steps. Now, we may not win it all back, But at least we have made a decision that we will not wallow in fear and begin to move forward and see how we could get better. Because fear is an incubator that is trying to communicate with you. And what do I mean by that? When fear is an incubator, what I mean by that is that fear is letting us know that there's some things out of order. You know, your body, when you're fearful, so many people are fearful of going to the doctor when they're hurting because they're fearful of the bad news. But when your body is telling you something, it's best to know it ahead of time so you can get in front of it in ahead of time. There's cures for just about everything, scientific medicine and everything. But if we allow fear to keep us from going to the doctors during our childhood, our grandparents and parents and great grandparents would not go to the doctor. But now today, we should not fear of going and taking care of ourselves. What I have not allowed fear to do for me is to continue on my journey of self-help, of being self-care and self-care. I will tell you that I was a lot bigger than I am right now, but I made a decision that regardless of what was going on, that I was going to take control of my body. And I made a decision that no matter how difficult, how fearful it was, that I was going to lose the weight and not fear. And so fear can sometimes, because let me be out of here, the incubator, the indicator, what it was in my body was not feeling right. I was sluggish, let me be real. I didn't want to get up, but I knew that this was not the norm. And I knew that where God was taking me, that I could not fear. So I went to the doctor and I got some diagnosis. I said, okay, what do I do? And what the doctor said is that, let me be real, he said, you need to lose 40 pounds before I take you off this high blood pressure medication. Okay? And guess what? I'm down 60 pounds right now. Let me give myself a hand. And I'm off of many of the medications. But if I had allowed fear to set in and not allow me to go and then begin to do the work, because fear is an indicator that you need to do the work. So let me break down some other things that I've learned about fear. We must learn to view fear as a point of information and not always a threat on one's survival. So when I went to the doctor, this is years ago, it's about 4 years ago now, I had to not take the fear of him telling me that my pressure was so high that I was threatening some other things that high blood pressure does. And so it was a point of information and not so much a threat on my life, but a threat on my health. And in that decision, I had to not be fearful enough to say, what can I do about it? And I did something about it. Because when we remain in fear, sometimes, again, I keep repeating this, it will cause you not to move forward. Personally, for me, it took years of turning my fear of rejection. Yes, I had the fear of rejection, of not being good enough, of not being able to speak fluently as I should. I would sit in meetings, have so much to say, have a lot of input, but wouldn't speak up because of the fear of being rejected, the fear of being unable to speak the words or slur my words as sometimes I do. But you know what I did? I went back to a speech therapist and began to work on myself. Yes, at an adult age, I went back to a speech therapist and said, I need help. I don't want to sit back in fear. I want to be a great orator. I want to be able to speak in public. And I was in way into my adult years. And today I'm still connected to that speech therapist who helps me to break down the syllabus and the way words should say. I'm not ashamed of that. But if I had to let fear and rejection keep me there, I would not be where I am today. And so let me tell you about fear. Fear helps us as fear is a mindset. And what I had to learn about fear is that I had to become a lifelong learner. I enjoy learning. But as a child, I didn't because I was fearful. But now I'm a lifelong learner. I returned to school, as I mentioned earlier, and I have earned the degrees that I so desired when I was a child. My father always reminds me that you always said you would be a teacher. But a lot of fear and a lot of wondering because I felt I wasn't good enough kept me for years not returning to school. But I'm thankful right now that I did. So one of the things that I want to share with you in part two is rewriting fear. How does that happen? Well, it entails developing a new mindset. So as you rewrite your fear, mindset is what you have to develop. Developing a new mindset. I had to change my mindset. There was an old preacher that said, if you change your mind, you change everything. So I had to develop a new mindset. Also, I had to begin to, as I began to rewrite my fears, create goals that are much more achievable for me. Not trying to keep up with the Joneses, but create the goals that were achievable for me. I also, in rewriting my fear, had to understand the root cause of what my fear was. I had to not fear being transparent because of rejection, being laughed at, being talked about, always being afraid to really be as transparent as I am now, which have helped me to overcome my fear. I had to recognize that all fear was not bad and that for me it began to work to my advantage because you know why? I rewrote it and I took advantage of the things that I needed to take advantage to alleviate and dismantle my fear. Remind you that you're listening to BGK Network and this is your time. And I'm going to say your time is now. If you're listening to me right now, you have a marketplace ministry, you're in the pulpit, you are a preacher, you are an ancillary preacher. This is your time to come because your voice is needed. Your voice is needed. There's someone waiting to hear your story. And so you can no longer afford to sit on your story. So our producers are in our studio right now. And you can connect with them by just emailing or going to our website at www.bgknetwork.org. Talk to one of our producers, and they will help you to produce your show. Listen, we're talking about fear right now. Do not be fearful that you don't have enough to say. Your voice is needed. Your voice needs to be heard. Someone is waiting on the story. No, not someone, but the world is waiting on the story that you're sitting on. And visibility is so important. And on networks, you get to so many people that you don't know the lives that you're touching. So get in touch with BGK. Of course, this is Dr. Sonia of Table Conversations. Get in touch with me by admin@drsanya.com. You can also go to my website at www.drsanya.com. Also, I have several book projects that I'm in right now. And so if you're looking to learn how to write, learn how to be an author, learn how the ins and out of becoming a best-selling author, you need to connect with me. We just finished one project, Disrupting the Status Quo, part volume 1, and it went 5 badges on Amazon, and it has become a movement. We are now in Disrupting the Status Quo volume 2 with additional 10 authors that are going to be writing that story. That's the come I want to let you know someone is waiting on your story. You have a story to tell, and so don't sit on it. Now let me give you some more information about fear. How do you redirect fear? Well, we talked about first of all rewriting it. Now, redirecting fear is you change course. As I told you last week, I had to change course. It's okay for you to change course. You change the path of fear. You change the path of fear. When you change course, you do not allow that fear to enwoven in your spirit because fear can enwoven in your spirit. You change how you behave and how you react. Last week I said to you that I had to change how I behave and how I react. Was what happened seemed to be unfair? Yes, it was. Was it fearful? Yes, it was. But I had to change, refocus, change course, and begin to renegotiate, find someone to talk to, and begin to say, okay, what's next? And so I learned to redirect my fear by putting the energy towards something much more useful in my life. What I've also done is I found a network of friends, a network of women that I can talk to. You are not alone. There is an old saying, no man's an island. Everybody needs somebody. You need someone to talk to, especially during those fearful and stressful times when you don't know what's going to happen. That's what I said sometimes. In fear, you have to talk to yourself. And so you have to talk it out with someone that can assist you to redirect it and redefine it. You also have to find someone you can trust that's going to tell you the truth, because sometimes your fear is false. It's false. You have to remove or stay away from negative thoughts and negativity. I have come to a point in my life that negativity and negative thoughts is not going to stay with me too long. I'm going to celebrate the good times and even sometimes the bad times, and then move on to redirect it and find out how can we resolve it. And so redirecting is finding someone that you can talk to about what you're fearful about. I did. I did. And I'm so glad I did. In fact, I have a couple of. And sometimes, let me be honest with you, it's not in your current sphere of influence. It may be outside of your sphere of influence, of that chain that you always talk to. Because when God is taking you to another level, it can be fearful. I know in the last 3 or 4 years, he's taken me to the next level, and it can be fearful. So you find those individuals that will help you celebrate, but also help you to redirect and rechannel that fear. Now, redirect the fear means learning to control your thoughts instead of your thoughts controlling you. When fear comes in, redirecting it means learning to control your thoughts and not allowing your thoughts to control you. That's a good one. Learning to control your thoughts and not allowing your thoughts to control you. Learning how to identify calm in the center of a storm. I had to do that last week. I had to learn how to identify calm in the center of a storm, in the center of a disaster, because everybody can't be afraid. Somebody's got to have calmness and being resound in directing your fear. Learn how to tap into your network for individuals who can walk you through and bring you out. That's what I had to learn to do in the last couple, maybe 5 years or so. Learning how to identify, to be able to stay calm in the storm. Learning how to control my thoughts and not allow my thoughts to control me. That's how you dismantle fear. Learning how to control your thoughts and not allowing your thoughts to control you. Tapping into your network. Tapping into people that can help you calm the storm. You have to learn if you're going to dismantle fear. So redirecting is this, but also you have to learn what triggers you have. What are some of the triggers? What are some of the triggers that keep you in fear? What triggers your fear? Because when you learn what triggers fear, you also learn how to redirect it, refocus it, redirect your thoughts. You learn how to tap into your network of individuals that can help you talk you out of it. I learned that talking to yourself is okay when it comes to fear. So when we learn to dismantle fear, we've had a lot of information here, but it is so important in this time as we come out of post COVID. So many people are still fearful. But again, God has not given us the spirit of fear. But there's some things that we can dismantle ourselves. So these last 2 weeks, we've been dealing with fear. And if there's anyone out there that's dealing with fear, I hope that this has been helpful to help you refocus, rewrite, and redirect the fear so that you can move on to your vision and begin to birth forth your vision. Thank you for listening. Listen again, connect with BGK Network at www.bgk.org if you're looking to uplevel your ministry, your marketplace. And listen, I don't consider ministry as in the pulpit. Ministry is your homeless shelter. Ministry is your women's shelter. Whatever ministry, your voice is needed. Your voice is so needed in today that people want to hear it. So if you're looking to come and create your program, this is the way to go. Connect with our producers at www.bgk.org, and they will talk and work with you. To connect with me, you can just look at my website, www. DrSonia.com. Go and look at my books and purchase those on fear, disrupting the status quo. My ebooks, some of those are free. And you can also go to my admin at Dr. Sonia, and you can email me about any of my broadcasts or even with any questions. Until next week, you have a great and wonderful day. Bye bye.
Matthew House comes from the scripture, Matthew 25:35. I was a stranger and you took me in. I was hungry and you fed me. I was thirsty and you gave me drink. I was in prison and you came to visit me. That's how we developed Matthew House. 3 African American men who had the compassion and the love of people who are all veterans. My name is Dr. Sonia Ricketts Stinson, and I am the Executive Director and the CEO of Matthew House.
Right now we're in the common room, which is also named as the day room. This is where most of our clients eat during the daytime. This is where they can watch TV. This is where they can socialize.
Hi, my name is Kirsten Dickens. I work as a nurse practitioner and one of the providers at Heartland Alliance Health. So here, Heartland Alliance has a number of outreach sites around the city, so linkage agreements with certain sites where we take our typical outpatient clinic model and bring it in to specific outreach sites, Matthew House being one of them.
Where they can go and get their public entitlement benefits, or helping with a storage bin, supplying the blankets, or supplying the toiletries. Cleaning supplies is something we take for granted. Other things that we have to get done. There's building maintenance that we have to take care of. There's the supported service at the program staff who have to definitely be here from 12 hours a day in order that the individuals are not in the heat and they're not in the cold. So we need your help. We need your financial support.
We need volunteers. You can go to our website at MatthewHouseChicago.org. There's a donation button, but most of all, we need funds. We need all that we can get to fix this building because these people need a place to be.
And I'm glad I'm here, and I will continue to be here until I'm not here anymore.